Hey there guys, IRClever here, and I'm here today with a review of the game Villagers, which has a very generic sounding name, but I assure you it does come up on the Steam search and it does come up on Google if you search Villagers game, so we're all good there. Now, Villagers is a town building game by indie developer Bumblebee. It focuses on village expansion and resource collection while also trying to keep your citizens happy and well fed. I'm reviewing this game in early March 2016, about 2 weeks before the game is officially released on the 25th of March, which technically makes this a pre-release review, but I think we can safely assume there's not going to be any major changes in such a short amount of time. I should also mention that the developer sent me a review code of this game. I'd like to think that hasn't biased my opinions, but I thought I should disclose it anyway. Finally guys, I thought I'd mention that the version number I'm reviewing is 1.003. So let's start off with the aesthetics of this game. First off, Villagers looks absolutely beautiful. There seems to be two ways you could go with this kind of genre, either a cartoon or realistic style. The realistic style works really well here and looks very nice. It runs very nicely too. I don't have the best gaming PC, but I've got everything cranked to ultra and I've had no problems with it whatsoever so far. The minimum requirements needed to run this game are very easily achievable. The borders in this game are fantastic. The maps are surrounded by like this old timely grid reference, which gives it the feel of like a live action ordnance survey map on the table of an inn. I'm not sure if that's ever been done before, but personally I've never seen it. It addresses a sometimes overlooked aspect of city builder and RTS games, like what in particular defines that as the border and why is that field more important than the other side? It would be cool if the developers took this one step further and added like big pints of beer in the background or rulers and compasses on the side, for example. That would be cool. So Villagers looks very similar to the game Banished, and I think that statement translates over to the gameplay as well. There are a lot of mechanics that are very similar to Banished, and even when Banished was first released, people were saying, hey, this is a good game, but it's going to take the modding community to make it into a great game. Comparing the day one releases of Banished and Villagers, Villagers is a lot less fleshed out, and personally I think it's the lesser of the two. On top of that, Banished has had a 2-year lead with the modding community, which has helped iron out any initial problems with the game and add a lot more content. Villagers also seems to have a problem with the pace of its gameplay. Things seem to happen very slowly, especially at the start. This is the kind of game that you could set up and leave for 20 minutes or half an hour and then come back and you've made some nice progress. Admittedly, I've never made a large village, which I assume would help to speed up the gameplay to be a more enjoyable pace. However, at that point, due to the lack of content, you've probably built all the available buildings anyway. The highest amount of villagers I've ever had was about 20, but there are some Steam achievements to go all the way up to 100. Thankfully, there's an option to speed up the gameplay times 10, but I don't think that's enough. Perhaps times 25 would help to remedy the initial slow pace of the game. There are two main gameplay modes available. The first is free play, which is pretty self-explanatory really, but I'll touch on that later. The second is the campaign, which also doubles as the tutorial, so if you do buy this game, I'd recommend you play the campaign first. I'm hesitant to call the campaign like a glorified tutorial because the narrative is so strong. Personally, I actually really enjoyed the campaign, and I'd have to say hats off to the developer Bumblebee for making a really interesting narrative, especially in the genre of game where you're essentially just building a town over and over again with different objectives. That's not to say that everyone will enjoy it. I'm sure you can imagine there's a huge amount of writing needed to spin a good plot into a town building game, none of which is voice acted at all, so there's a lot of reading involved. The entire campaign has 6 levels and probably took me around 4 to 5 hours to complete, which is a testament to both the amount of reading involved and the slow pace of the gameplay. There's a funny part early on in the campaign where it explains about the Forester's Lodge, which can plant trees to later be harvested. Now technically those trees should take, what, 20 or 30 years to grow, which completely contradicts the narrative, but they just point at it and joke about it and don't even attempt to avoid it. There are 3 main building materials in this game. Wood and stone can be used for most buildings, and iron is needed for more advanced buildings. There are also 3 main ways of getting these resources. The first is just to pillage the land of what's lying around. You can get wood and stone this way, but not iron. The second way to get resources is to build a structure. I've already mentioned the Forester's Lodge for wood, but to extract stone and iron from the map, you're going to have to build a mine, which can only be built in a very specific location. I'm bringing this up because the free play maps are exactly the same as the 5 maps available in the campaign. Early on in the campaign, when it hasn't explained about mines yet, there's no need for the maps to have the specific locations where you can build mines. Which means that if you go to play that map in free play, you're limited to the third way of gathering resources, which is through a merchant at the warehouse. Which is a shame, because the first map of the campaign is probably my favourite, but the very limited method of resource collection makes the game incredibly slow. There's obviously an easy fix that the developers or modders can do, just add those mining areas into the initial maps and that will make the maps much more enjoyable. At the moment, I don't think I can recommend Villagers, and I feel terrible for saying that, because the game has been developed by a small indie company who have obviously put a lot of work into it. It just needs a little bit more work. There are some problems to address, some bugs to iron out, and there's definitely some more content to add. So guys, that's my review of Villagers. I really hope you found it useful. Now if you're new to the channel, my name's IR Clever. I love RTS games, I love city building games. In fact, for almost the last 2 years now, I've been playing the old school classics Settlers 3 and Settlers 4 every weekend. I'm also currently doing a series on Zeus, Master of Olympus, the 2001 city building game. So if that's your kind of thing, feel free to check out the rest of my videos. Links will be in the description, or you can check out the end slate at the end of the video. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed this guys, and hopefully I will see you guys in the next video.